No matter what species we're talking about here, there's always variation. Take, for example, this blue and red bird. These birds, their colors represent their phenotypes, but their genotypes are determined by what alleles they have. The red bird has a big B, and that represents the red allele, while the blue bird has a small b, which represents the blue allele. According to the English dictionary, one of two or more alternative forms of a gene that arise by mutation and are found at the same place on a chromosome is an allele. A really good way to see alleles present themselves in nature is with flowers. Let's say we have a beautiful blue snapdragon. And that snapdragon got that color from specific genes. It could have been that it was a homozygous dominant combination or a heterozygous combination. And that flower could have easily been white instead of blue, since it would have been a homozygous recessive. Now, going back to the more roots of population genetics, it's the genetic variation within a population. And what population genetics does is it evaluates and examines the changes within frequencies of genes and alleles in a population over time, also known as evolution. When you look at something like population genetics, you can basically just sum it up as how we became what we are, how any group of animal became what they are. It is a series of genetic changes within a population, and whichever genes become the most popular is generally what the majority of the population shares. And evolutionary changes at a genetic level inside a population can often be referred to as microevolution, which is a big part of population genetics. As for microevolution, it is the change in allele frequencies, which is how often alleles occur within inside a population. And this, of course, occurs over time. And these changes, these allele frequencies, normally occur with 4 different processes: mutation, natural selection, gene flow, and genetic drift. And these are all extremely important when considering how a species evolves in our world, in our environment. I want to talk about something a little more taboo, a little more risque, because it is the perfect example of allele frequency and microevolution. and that is the hood that covers male genitalia. This allele frequency occurred throughout populations for a very specific reason, but humans today, and of course in the past, we also practice circumcision, but it is almost 100% standard today. We as humans have taken it upon us to completely remove an allele, essentially, because we decided it was either not necessary or not practical. And this is, to me, a prime example of microevolution, when a species just decides to completely genetically change something that's existed for humans for thousands of years, possibly tens of thousands of years, and possibly hundreds of thousands of years. On a similar subject, something that's a very hot topic and has quite a bit of influence when it comes to population genetics is genetically engineered organisms, or GMOs. And genetic engineering is the process of adding new DNA to an organism that didn't previously have it. And the goal is to change aspects, to change the genes, to change the alleles of that organism for a specific reason. An example would be corn that is resistant to certain types of pesticides or bacteria. And this is an extremely slippery slope in the field of population genetics. The reason that this is a slippery slope is because if we can get to the point where we can alter the genes of babies, then there really is no end game there. You could select stuff like eye color if you want your baby to have blue eyes, but who's to say that you wouldn't genetically alter a baby to, let's say, have the lightest skin tone possible, or genetically alter a baby to have no genitalia, or to alter a baby to have blue hair. And none of this sounds quite bad, some of it does, but the point is, when you start messing with nature and playing God like this, it's hard to really think about the possibilities that could happen. If you have a family that tries to genetically modify their baby to not be homosexual, you could have that. It's an extremely slippery slope, and there's of course benefits to it. Just like any assertion of sociology, there's benefits to this, but as far as population genetics go, it's a very, very slippery slope, and we'll find out soon in the next probably 3 to 5 years what that's all going to look like. As conclusions go about genetically modifying organisms, it's not all doom and gloom at all. Imagine a world where you could erase diabetes. Imagine a world where you could erase cancer. Imagine a world where you could erase mental illness like bipolar or schizophrenia from genetic manipulation, and create allele frequencies for huge populations without these ailments. and we're just going to have to find out. Humans will always be searching for new things, new methods, and new techniques to do things. And either way, exciting, bad, happy, sad, it's going to be interesting to see how we all play out.